Okay. I was like waiting for something to happen. All right then. On to something. Okay. So welcome to our first clarity call. And as you know, this is the first time doing this, so I'm playing with like the best way to go about utilizing the time. And well, since you all shared in the intro and the why, which were just, I was inspired just to post those up there. So you all filled them in, which gave me the information to work with. So, hey, there you go. Because I was originally thinking that everybody could take, we'll still do about 15 minutes going around, but at least to start and see where we fall. I figured then you'd share on here what your dream was. Well, you've shared it. We've all seen it. It's in writing now. So really what I'm guided to do is I created some notes, highlighted things, and feel like I'll ask you questions in the areas that feel like they're like referencing wobbly. I heard that recently. And just ask you to keep bringing more out. Some insight that I received on what you shared to help you get more clear and to bring it down to what you really want to align with. I keep setting with things and really getting like everything, just keep bringing it down to a place where the alignment is so clear that the speed is there. And the more we keep, well, I don't know, and bringing in all these other things, that's what, then it just sits there. And that's kind of a distractive energy we create so that we don't have to look. All right. I have an order, so I hope you guys are all okay with that order, but let me just go through. I was also guided to, since we have this once a month, in about 2 weeks from now, I'll do a post, a clarity post, and you just do the same thing. So write down, you know, if you're journaling all the things that are coming to you and getting clearer, then just condense it. And, you know, doesn't have to be like a book, but, you know, just what's happened for you, what you're more clear on, what we've talked about. And then I can tune into that. And again, even just comment on it, and also feel like if that really feels like you're getting into alignment with it more. And then remember, stay well hydrated. I mean, a little more. And tag me. You are doing pretty well with that. But if you tag me, then I'm more apt to see it because I scan, and I do get notifications when you're all writing each other, which is really cool. I'm glad you're all doing it. But then I'm just like, oh, that's not really for me. But okay. So if you tag me, I see my name. And let's see. Oh, and if you post anything like before a call or anything you want me to see to tune into, 24 hours is the best for me, because then I just kind of open myself up. And like I said, I go to bed with it. And so while I'm studying at the end of my day, that's when I tune in. And then if there's anything else, it comes out in the morning. So it's either nighttime or morning, whatever. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, I wrote, oh, chat. Yeah. Okay, this chat. For a minute, I just wrote chat. I'm like, why do I? Okay. So the chat over here, if you want to share anything, my initial thing was we just all talk. And then even in those who didn't join, they had concern over, oh, well, you know, having people say things, but you're all doing that in the group anyway with each other, which is great. But just to see what kind of time frame we have, any suggestions you have or feelings, you can put them in the chat. And I did say on the prep call, those 3 dots down there by the little happy face, if you click on them, you save the chat. So I get the copy of the chat too, but that gets more complicated. And then if any of you happen to accidentally or on purpose write to me privately, it's in my chat. So, but I'm not really gonna so much focus on the chat because I'm chatting. Okay, all right. So are you all good with me just like spewing the stuff out without too much, that's how I get my information. It's very matter of fact, no dancing around flower stuff, just, okay. All right. I'm guided to start with Shannon. Well, there's only a few people. Somebody's going to have to be first. All right, you get to unmute yourself. It's going to ask you to unmute. Okay.
All right, lay it on me.
Oh, well, actually, so I really felt in your why that you really came in, like you really connected to it. And you're creating deeper relationships between the pets and their guardians, bridging the communication gap to create a better life for the animals. I really like that. I can, communicate with animals too. So that's really cool. And that your dog Corbin, right? What kind of dog is he?
Actually, he was a pit hound mix.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
he's actually back now, but he's in my other dog now.
Okay.
He's been a part of my life path.
Okay.
And he's actually, yeah.
I always call it recycling.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
You recycled. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. So you seem really clear. I mean, like really tune more in. Do you feel like you're more clear?
Yeah. The past couple of weeks, even before we started, I have actually been really doing some focusing of my own, probably ever since I signed up. I feel like it's probably just everything's just started once I put it in motion, right? And I've really been taking this winter cycle to just literally focus and just lay in on it. And the past week, and then even after the Monday blast.
Are you talking in here?
Yes,
okay.
The Monday, yeah, the Monday.
Clarify which blasting I'm doing.
Sorry, the Monday blast that we did for this group. I noticed I seemed to have I was able to really hone in even more. I've been really journaling a lot, releasing some stuff that's definitely coming up and seems to be tying in with it. But definitely have been really, for the first time, finding myself, really defining it. Whereas before I would just be like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. This is blah, blah, blah. I plan to work with the animals that, as I've been going through my spiritual journey and getting on my path and stuff. But it was like the first time that I've actually felt it, and I started defining it how I see it. And not as everybody else is like, oh, because everybody would be like, we're ready when you're ready, let us know. I've got a lot of connections that are ready for me to start, being there. And I think a lot of that just overwhelmed me subconsciously.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't time yet, but because so many people were just like, oh, we can't wait, or you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that.
Well, you're already sending out that energy. Like, is everything.
Yes.
So that's really cool that they're already forming, and you're not even got an offer yet.
I know. It's like, it's wild. It's been wild, but yeah, thank you. This has been the most definitive I've been with it, and it's been feeling really good. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't do business stuff technically, but I've been in enough programs to have enough information. So just from reading this, so when you say companion animal, so I just want to clarify some of these little things, because
sure,
for just alignment stuff that I've had to do in my own business as way of doing things. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. You're talking pet, because there are companion animals that are basically trained to be, like comforting. They are called companion.
Oh, like a service animal.
Yeah.
And
they usually reference those as companion.
Okay, okay,
That's what I've heard when I know
okay.
they're
So
considered service, but they're a companion. That's why you can take them into stores and things like that. So
yes,
then I was
yes.
reading and I felt like pet, in the first, in your intro, you called it companion animals. And then I was like, is that a pet? And then you did reference them in your
Okay.
why as pets.
So favorably holding it down to keep it geared because it is more the
Well, so
pets.
you're going to connect with who you want. So when you create a business, you design around who you want to work with.
Right.
Because I've been that person who used to try to help everybody and talk that way.
Hmm.
And I finally got through all the times I've heard, well, if you keep doing that, nobody hears you clearly. Yeah, you can help everybody, but the people that you really want to help can't hear you clearly. So, even when you say like their companion person, I don't think I highlighted, oh, they're guardians. I don't know if you consider just calling them the pets, and they're humans.
Gotcha.
That's up to you if that feels like it's alive. But you feel fun when your energy feels fun around this. Like it's a really fun thing for you to do. So actually you're
Yeah.
talking to the pet, and then they're humans on the side instead of the human dealing with the pet. Like pet trainers, they're really talking more like to the human, and then there's the pet. I feel with you like it's the pet, the human on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to, you know, it makes such a difference
Mhm.
when you know what, you know, uh, that individual, that animal,
Well,
what
you
their
know what
wants
they
and needs
need,
are,
and yeah. And
just
most
like
people
ours,
don't
we
think
have
about
wants
it.
and needs. Mm-mm.
So then you shared, you work, you'll help, you said, I will help find a companion animal that fits your needs and their needs. Work through trauma, behavior, and plan out end of life transitioning. So I would invite you for more
Hmm.
clarity to pick one of those to focus on. Do you want
Okay.
to help people and their pets when they're transitioning? Because, like end of life for a pet. Do you want to help people connect with their animal and their animal connect with that? Or do you want to like have people who have fur babies who they want to talk to come to you? What would be your ideal person?
What I was getting at was, yeah, like someone that's going to, because the bottom line is, right, we all have the capabilities of communication and telepathic communications, but not everybody takes it on, or not everybody taps in,
Mhm.
or they're, confident enough to do it. What I initially want to do is like what I had with Corvin, I realized is really what geared it, is that through his life, even though I was communicating more than I thought I was at the time. This was quite a few years ago, and I just didn't have the confidence and the trust in myself that I was getting
Mhm.
those clear messages. But having the animal communicator
Mhm.
to, be that gap of, okay, I'm not picking up on what's going on. We need to have a conversation. Um,
Basically, you're like the translator, like if somebody spoke another language or
yes,
was deaf and you were the
yes,
signer between the two. So you're the
yes,
translator. You speak
yes,
animal.
yes.
So
Yes,
you
I
can
want
say,
to
I speak
be that
animal.
voice. Yeah, right. There you go.
I speak animal. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because
Mhm.
what really sparked it is the end of my Corvin's life was a big factor.
Mhm.
When it got to his time to go, we had a most beautiful conversation of, reflecting on our life and our time together. And then the biggest beauty of it was like, how did he want to go out? How did he want to transition out? And this is what he wanted done. This is how he wanted to go. And that's what I did for him.
Well, that could be a whole thing in itself.
Yes.
So to
Yes.
really align with what you're doing, and it can turn into that. There might be somebody who comes to you if you choose one to focus on. Somebody might come and start saying, hey, do you do this? And you can say yes, choosing one to start with Doesn't mean you
Okay.
exclude the other. It just means you're not
Okay.
talking to those things, but people
Okay.
can
Because I was
show
going to
up.
say, because it would be like, it's almost like a person could literally utilize me through the life of their animal, the
Yeah.
span of their animal.
Yeah. Well, then you could promote it as and focus on, finding the puppy or the
Mhm.
whatever. And you may even want to focus on a particular type of animal. The more you hone in on it, the more
Okay.
you're going to be connected and talking. Like I'm taking a
Okay.
copywriting course, and the whole point is talk to one person. And then we
Okay.
all sit there. I've been told that for years. And I'm like, why am I talking to one person? I want to work with all these people. They said, but if you talk to one and get very specific and clear, all those who are similar to that will hear you.
Okay. Okay.
But when you're talking to too many with too many things, then people get unclear. Like what? Especially
would
with
kinda make
stuff like
sense why
energy work,
Uh-huh.
because then they're like, what are you talking? It doesn't, real estate, very clear things make sense. But when you get into anything that's a little more esoteric-ish, it starts to get confusing. And then you get confused because you're trying to say it in ways people do understand and it doesn't make sense. So it's what would ideally, if you sat down and said, the perfect scenario, the perfect person, are they male, female? How old are they? What are they looking for with their
Mhm.
pet? Because there are some owners that, even though they might come to you, are just not really into, they just think this is the solution because they can't deal with their animal. And you don't
Yeah.
necessarily, even though you want to help the animal, if you can't work with the owner, you're not gonna.
Yeah, no, they've got to be on board. They've got to be one. I've realized and honed it on that a while back, realizing it's like, of course, like you said, you want to be out there to educate and you want to help, get everybody to hopefully wake up and be differently with the animals. They teach us so much. But I've realized, no, it's going to have to be somebody who was like me,
Mhm,
who literally was like, okay, I want to provide for this animal
mhm,
and for its needs
mhm,
and take it to that next level.
mhm.
Because in the end, in truth, it's really going to turn both of them around.
Yes. Yeah, it expands the relationship, of course. When you can
Mhm.
understand, it would be like having a child who had a condition that they couldn't communicate. If somebody came
Mhm.
along and could talk for the child, the parent,
Right.
you would think, would want to know what their child wanted and
Mhm.
needed. And a lot of people look at their pets as fur babies. I remember I told you,
Yes.
that's what they
Oh
call
my
them.
gosh, yes.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to get all technical and referencing. If you talk
Mhm.
to people the way that that's the whole thing. Talk to them like they talk, you're going to
Mhm.
connect to more who you want. So if you get clear on who this person is, like literally male, female, if you had the ideal person show up, who would that person be? And then what kind of pet? Because I mean, there's a lot of pets out there. Do you want to talk to horses? Maybe you can talk to horses. Maybe you ultimately want to talk to horses. But again,
Mhm.
like to start out really fine tune, there might be a
Okay.
breed you like over another breed, or there might be a breed that's a little belligerent and hard to talk to. Who knows? Something like that. But play with it, like just get more clear on
Okay.
on those kinds of things, then you'll get more clear and it'll keep expanding off of that.
Okay. Okay.
So imagine that person, the perfect client called you up. They would be, and really design that and the pet, and at what age, like play with the perfect scenario, and it can keep shifting, but start with something there.
I got
Because then you
got
can
it.
call that person in and then you'll get clear on, okay, this is like even this program. I had an idea. And that as we keep going, it refines itself and says, okay, do it this way and do it this way. And this makes more sense. Okay. So that abstract big thing is wonderful. I want to do all this, but then start bringing in like one part of it to start with. And then
No,
you
that
can
makes sense. That makes sense. It's like doing the baby steps. Like you said, more here and
Mhm.
when you talk about things and like you said, focusing it's on the one thing.
The one thing makes a difference. One thing brings speed to it because it's easier to align with one thing than
It's almost like, yeah, like Nate, like holistic ways. It's like when there's three things going on, you
Mhm.
focus on the primary and the one thing,
Mhm.
and it actually takes care of all the rest.
So you'll see more clearly, oh, this thing and this thing. Mhm. And we think sometimes, and I used to, that by focusing on one thing, it somehow gets rid of everything else. And uh-oh, I want everything else too. But it actually brings everything else is easier to come in.
Easier
And
to
then
come
each
in.
step will show itself and be
Okay.
easier.
So it's almost like taking all those, because I've got a website like mostly built already.
Mhm.
And what I'm hearing is hone in on one of the services.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
pick, so basically it looks like three, like you could help person find and the animal find each other. However, you plan on doing that. And then
Mhm.
you can help with the trauma. So that would be probably an animal that's, maybe been adopted from, not necessarily a puppy or even a puppy that was in one of those, what are they called, puppy
No,
mills or things like
it's,
that.
yeah,
Because
it's
those
focused
things
on the
all traumatizing.
mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the traumas and the mentality. It's similar to what, I've gone through in life,
Mhm.
and the animals they go through their traumas as well.
Yeah.
And it's more the mental.
Yeah. So figure out what would be
Okay,
ideal. And
got
then you
it.
can always, if somebody comes along and says, hey, do you do this? If it's something you want to do, then you
Hmm.
can do that
Hmm.
and, make it custom to that space.
Gotcha.
But start with one, otherwise it's just overwhelming. Like, what do I do? Yeah.
Nope, that makes sense. And that's definitely what I needed to hear. And
And I also, okay, I have several papers. I copy everything off and then put it on a Word document. Was things like once you get more set on what you're doing, you could go to pet stores or trainers and connect with ones that
yes.
believe in this and who will help you
Oh
with
yeah.
bringing you
Yeah.
clients.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Shelters, rescues. I've doggy daycares.
Well, it feels more individual, like more like trainers or other individual work with
Hmm.
the pet, because then the person really is more apt to invest in something like that. The classes that you can eventually go there or even
Hmm.
start at like PetSmart, they have those classes, but those are
Hmm.
for people who, you know, you look at what you want to charge for your services too, as to where you're going to find your people.
Gotcha.
But the more clear you are, you walk in there and you're clear to them, then they know, and then it just all works faster. Everything works
Gotcha.
faster the clearer we are.
Okay.
Our clarity makes everybody else clear, then everything shows up. Took me quite
All
a few
right.
years and a lot of investing in business stuff to actually get that myself. Oh, that's what you mean. Okay. All right.
All in the detail, right?
And you tuning in,
Well,
the more you're tuned in, you're sending out that station. So every
yeah.
time I can do this and I can do that, and then that station is kind of like how I'm picturing is it. We're all old enough. You remember the UHF dial on TV? And
Oh yeah.
you couldn't get the screen in clearly, and you kept turning ever so slightly, and sometimes
Yep.
you back away and you were the antenna.
Yes,
You
right.
had to like angle.
Put a leg
Okay,
up and
so you all have a dial. So take your dial and then feel into it and keep turning it till it's like the picture is so clear
there.
it can't not show up.
Yeah.
It's like you're tuning in your TV. When your picture is really clear, there you have it. That's when the space of you and it closes.
Got it. Makes sense.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so play with your pet and their human and get to pick the one that if that person showed up and it would be all the ideal stuff. And
All right.
you'll keep adding to it as you work with people and go, oh yeah, I want to make sure that quality, the opposite of that quality. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that'll
Okay.
be some stuff when you really interact with people.
Mm,
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions or anything?
No, that made a lot of sense. Answered a lot. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Thanks. All right. You can mute yourself. Okay. Number 2 on my list. It's Randy. I just did this totally guided. It was not anybody. Okay. So let's see. All right. I'm going to preface this part because both you and Sherry keep talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So our job is the what and the why, right? What we want, why we want it. The universe takes care of how it shows up, when it shows up, where it shows up, and even the who's in there, right? So money, although we can want money, we actually always want the thing on the other side of money, what money offers us. So we don't really care about the money. In actuality, we don't. And when we look at wanting big sums like that, I've mentioned it before, and it's what I was guided because, yeah, when I've thought about it, wanting to win millions. As a matter of fact, I keep having things come up, like when the Powerball, it was 630 million. And I'm bringing this up because I was in the store, and I do buy tickets. I mean, obviously, I put it in the group. I looked up at one of those signs, and I could have swore it said 630 million on Tuesday. And I thought, oh, well, that's a 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. Maybe I'll buy a ticket. And I didn't end up buying a ticket, but when I looked at the sign again, it said 610 million. I'm like, oh, something's wrong here. So I looked at the app to see what the amount was. Before I bought a ticket, it said 610. I said, well, that's not my 9, so I'm not going to buy it. The next day, I got an email from the Michigan Lottery because I'm, on their site, and I get these emails. That's 630 million. I'm like, no, yesterday was 610. So I also got this little story that popped up that said they upped it on Wednesday. So I had already seen the number before the number came up.
Wow.
So I bought a ticket, didn't win anything. However, I don't know if you guys have ever been close to winning hundreds of millions, but back in 2011, I kept having a nudge of buying a ticket. And that was when it was one of the higher ones, a couple $100 million. And I always bought it from the same grocery store. And I kept getting a nudge, and I forgot on my way home from a friend's house. And I was like, forget it. Next morning, my mom calls me. She says, Tammy, did you win? I said, why? She goes, the ticket was sold at the grocery store you shop at and always buy your ticket. My brother called her to tell her. I was like, oh, shit. How many times? It was like 3 times I was poked to buy this ticket. I went and looked around the parking lot just by chance, some odd thing. There was a loose ticket. Some group of teachers claimed it, but I was like, oh. So anyway, and then this last one that was 396, the Mega Million. So I won the $5 on the wheel. I bought the tickets, and I got the winning. You're a winner. I opened my phone on the app. I said, Michigan Lottery, your winnings have arrived. I was a little nervous to scroll down. I thought that would be a good intro to the whole thing. Hey, I'm 600. Would be impressive, right? I only won 12, but still. I just thought the whole scenario was funny. Okay, so hundreds of millions, it's great, but that negates our ability to be the creator that we are, that we don't need. We have access to more abundance than hundreds of millions of dollars on this planet. We are tuned into source. And as long as you're focusing on the one thing and bring it down into that thing that you're putting your energy into and not having it be this vast thing, you can have that thing. And then you want the next thing, and that thing's created. Because if money disappeared tomorrow, then would it mean that you couldn't have any of those things you wanted because now there's no money? So I've been guided to, like, if you buy tickets or whatever and you win it, oh well, it's all good. But to focus on that is the means. You're actually messing with the how.
I was going to ask you that.
You want the thing on the other side, because to just want money would be almost saying, I just want this, maybe in your account just to see a number, but not do anything with it, because then you just have the money, the what. But because you want the what that really comes off of it, if you focus on the what on the other side, then it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it comes through money or gifted or, it shows up in the bizarre ways it can. That doesn't matter. You want the thing. So you're actually telling the universe the how. And so, Sherry, you noted it in was it my blast or, the wealth thing that I did, that when I said, I think it was a blast that I said, the universe just pulls back and lets you kind of play until you're done and surrender it and open the space, and then it steps back in. So when you tell it the how, okay, if that's the how, then we'll let you focus on the how until you're done looking at the how, which is its job. You know what I mean? So
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, am I looking at this? I know I am, because I know that money's the last thing. It's like the end result or whatever. It's like you have to find the passion or the thing you want, you desire the most, and then the money comes if that's part of it. But
if that's that's why I always say the means, because it doesn't mean that it'll come through money. Money is a tool. It is not. And so even in your why that you shared, it feels like you repeatedly said money provides comfort. You feel taken care of. So you're giving money that power, and money does not take care of you.
It's coming from lack. I felt that whole thing was like lack. I was going to ask you that, and then I said, leave it. But that's what I was wondering. Like, after I wrote it, it was what I desire to have in my life. And then after I thought about it the next morning, I was like, that's coming from need, and money does not go where it's needed.
Well, the money doesn't take care of you, but that's what you saw. You came from a wealthy family. And so because of money, you were taken care of. Because of money, things that you wanted were taken care of.
Right.
I think you might be a little stuck there.
I am. And for 2 years, I've been asking this question. We've even talked.
No, I meant on your video.
What?
You're stuck on your video.
Oh.
You might be stuck on the actual video. Is stuck. See, you're so stuck, you're not moving in the video.
Stuck in a lot of areas, apparently.
So actually, what came to me was take in your why, take money out of every statement and put love in there instead.
Okay.
Love takes care of you. Love gives you comfort. Love will supply you with all the things you want.
That's so nice.
Because it's really about you realizing that you take care of yourself. That no outside source, not another person, not money, anything.
This is where I always get stuck, though. Like I know all this in a sense. Not saying what you told me wasn't valuable, because that actually is really.
Well, you can never, honestly, you can't hear it too much, because I still hear.
I know.
Like, oh.
Also, like, you told me this probably like a year ago, and every other people tell me it, and then all of a sudden the day you're ready to hear it is when you hear it. So
when you take it in and do something.
Like, I know this, I could tell this to someone else, but I don't do this. So I don't know.
Part of it too is when we open the door for all this work when we actually realize we're on our spiritual journey, we always were, but now I see it now. We open the door that says, guess what? We're ready for all this stuff to happen. And so the stuff starts happening and starts coming up that is not aligned with that. That's why you're saying, like, in the last couple of years, you've gone into a lack feeling. It's because that's the energy that's still in there. But because you want to up level and you want to experience more and something different, that has to go somewhere. You have to process it.
I've been processing, but
Well,
what
there's
needs-
sometimes there's
I
a
know.
lot of processing because it's
I
not
know.
just like this lifetime, it comes from other ones, it comes from really deep programming. And we feel like we're here right now and it's all okay. And then the next day, then the stuff comes up, but I'm here, I'm feeling good. It's deep stuff. It's like I see a barrel with mud in it. If you leave the mud alone, or mud and water, the water's like pretty decent. It's not even necessarily really murky, but you start moving that dirt and it comes up and everything's all a mess. And it's like, oh, should have not touched that, not stirred that bucket or that barrel. And that's the stuff that comes up. It's like, okay, you still have some of this in there.
Oh,
You
I
still
do.
have some of this in there. And that's all, which gives you the opportunity to do something with it.
Whole client thing, the billionaire client we had, that, do you remember that story that triggered all of the lack feeling that I did not have mostly until, I don't know how many years ago, it's been now 4 years. I was like working on that yesterday or today, and I was like, this must still be triggering me because I still go back to that story or whatever. So that's how I know it's obviously not done, because that story still bothers me.
Yeah. So have you done, like I've mentioned in other things, write like a letter? You could write a letter to money. Well, where'd you go? Seriously, that helps to release things.
Tammy, I have done many things.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sitting here and like, I don't want to say the answer because I know it's like a journey to the answer, but what I'm saying is like literally the switch of flipping is like right there. And I'm like there. And all I have to do is go like that. And then it'll make sense. But I just like, I'm feeling like if we're having this talk and if this ends, like I'm still confused. Like I don't know what I'm so stuck on or what.
But just let things flow out instead of trying to figure out what you're so stuck on. Just let stuff, literally, like just set down on a piece of paper. That's that. Initiate the question. Why am I so stuck on this money thing? And see what comes out. That deeper part of you will answer the question if you let it. But then when we judge it and go, I have already done this a zillion times. I think we've all felt like that. I don't know how many people have done. I have cleared that. Well, if I'm finding it in your energy, you haven't cleared all of it. It's like that one wad of something way back under the sofa where nobody ever goes.
Also why it comes up though is because, and it's because like, let's say my life, let's just say monetarily with the business is the same as it was 7 years, 10 years ago, let's just say. Like, meaning, I don't even remember, like we would have money come in or not come in. And I always looked at it like it was fine. And like, if this didn't happen, well, something bigger was coming. I don't even know how I knew that, but I always looked at it that way. Mm-hmm. And now I don't. Now I don't know why I get nervous about it. And like, there is a need because we, even though our business is happening, we still want to have more clients. It's not every time the business gets back up, then something happens, then COVID happened. So it comes up and then it comes down. I don't like that. Or like figure out how, pay off something or not have that come up as a thing anymore, and then it comes up again. So it's like there's something.
Part of this too is up leveling. And because even in my business, I'll think, okay, if I figure this, it's fine and I can coast on, that's okay. But the next level really wants to expand something else. So it has to shake us up in the, we were okay, it's all okay, thing to have us step into something bigger. Otherwise we'll just ride okay. We'll ride okay till something's not okay. And the more, again, that we invite in growth, well, okay, well, you invited it in. It's like vampires. Apparently they can't come in the door. You let them. Well, that's an odd thing, but they can't come in the house till you invite them in. And so once you say, hey, I'm open to like doing this work and being more connected and knowing myself as that, it's like, all right, they said yes. Okay. So what I feel is if you wrote all these desires, but again, like anything else, pick one that you really want.
I was thinking that is too many.
Well, that's a big picture. It's okay. to start with, it's okay to start with the big picture of what you ultimately want, but then take one thing out that you're going to actually do. Like I want to fix up my house, or, redo stuff because it's a 1957 house. And so I was like thinking, okay, I need this. I think it would cost about this much. And I was told, we'll get quotes, come up with the dollar amount you need, then the dollar amount can show up. Don't just say, I think I need this. No, go and find out how much it would cost to put the roof on, or the siding, and go get quotes. It's easier to create that money. When I wanted to cut the trees out there, I got high quotes, but I decided I only wanted to pay $600. Last guy who came, lost my paper, yada, yada, whatever. When he came up with the whole amount, he goes, it was $600. I said, well, I'll cut them. But I decided I was going to do it. And then I decided how much I wanted to pay for it. I'm not saying that will always, figuring out the price that might work, but usually if I want something on sale, I think about it being on sale, and it'll be on sale that week at the store. So I do that all the time. But you have the more you can bring it down to one thing and focus just on that, then it also gives you confidence to go, oh, look, I did that. All right, so let's pick the next thing. It's like picking, we don't have to do them all at once. And even if you got hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't think people think about this. You have to do a lot of stuff with that hundreds of millions of dollars before you can do all the stuff that you think you want to do.
Also, I thought it maybe start with a nice big number, and then like anything less than that comes in, that's okay.
Well, but see, that's again the how though. So decide on the what. And it feels like it should be a what. I don't like that word, should, but choose one that is based on you, and you showing yourself that through your ability to create this because you want it, and because you can tune into it, because you can get clear on it, you take care of yourself. I just kept reading that about money, is because everything you wrote was based on money, but every single one of them you can have without money, without focusing on the money. Like you can have more peace, ease, and flow. You can have that without focusing on the money. You can have all of these things without focusing on the money, but focus on that thing. But what I would always invite you to do, and this is another message I got, don't include or disclude anybody in the purity of your creation. So don't go, well, because I want to give to other people. That's not why you're doing what you're doing. You're doing it because it feels good here. We are all selfish in the sense that every choice we make, whether it's not to hurt somebody or to hurt somebody or whatever, is because it's how we ultimately feel because of it. So everything is centered on us. The moment we start going, well, we'll be okay with that person, or people think they're being more spiritual or better by going, I want lots of money so I can give it to a bunch of other people. That will never be enough of a strong motivator or energy to get you the money. It has to be because you want it.
So what if this is what I've done in the past, is I think of how like we like our business, what we like about having our own business, and the type of employees and the clients and our office and the things that we love about that. And we just kind of feel more into that, which then of course brings all those things. Mm-hmm. But I guess what's attached to that is a little bit of fear and lack, because I want more money to be coming in right now. So that's where I think I was like, oh, I don't want to focus on that because the business, but I have to just sort of put that aside.
Do you do the business with do you love the business?
I love having my own business. Okay. My husband's the architect with the other people. I run the business. I'm not an architect, but I love. But you run
the office, and you know what? I can tell you from being the energy person I am, the creative person really appreciates the person who handles all the crap that we don't want to do.
Oh, I know, but
so you are very important.
I know. I'm the other half, but I'm also a creative person, just like he is. So it's not that creative, but I absolutely love. I was just thinking today, I'm like, I can go when I want, I can leave when I want, I can take a day off when I'm just like entrepreneur. One should do that. Don't go back. Like there's I love it.
So could you focus on something that is just for you? Something that would bring in money or means that way for you? Because even you mentioned it a little, and we haven't gone too deep even in our private work together, your eating disorder. So it feels like when we do things like that, that's a way to be able to control our environment. It's like the kids who are really empathic and they burn and cut themselves. That's a control. They can't control how they feel all this, but they can control this. They can control feeling that pain. So when we do things like that, it's about having some kind of control you don't feel like you have anywhere else. You can make these choices for you. And even if they aren't the healthiest or they're painful, you have control of that. So it really feels like, even though you have all this with your husband, it's missing the just being Randy.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because I don't know if I told you, I'll say it really quickly. I wrote, like, I figured out the way to eat energetically years ago without even knowing what the hell that was. And it really worked. And my eating disorder, for the most part, like, was a non-issue. So I started writing a book. I'm like, I'm going to write a book. I started writing a book about it. And then I stopped. And then right before COVID, I was shocked, flipped out of it. And like, I was back to like it being weird. And then of course COVID happened. And since then it's just been like so out of control in different ways, because I feel like I'm rebirthing myself, like I'm shedding that and starting over in a way where it's coming fully from like a point of 100% truth, or whatever you want to say, like my soul's purpose. But every time I try to write the book again, I'm so overwhelmed because so much has happened and I just can't. I get overwhelmed and I don't want to do it. But putting that aside for a second, yes, I feel like that story, that experience, or as it keeps unfolding, is definitely like part of my soul's purpose to share with the world in whatever way that's going to be. And I would love that to be the thing I'm focusing on, but I don't, it's so overwhelming that I don't.
So don't look at it like writing a book. Instead, journal about it. Journal about your journey. Just write just for you. And then you can turn that into a book because you'll have it written down, but don't do it as the book. See, that's the pressure of writing a book. Write it for you. And think about if you could even think you're like talking to the people out there who are experiencing what you experienced.
Okay.
Like give a voice to your experience. To when did it start from the beginning? When did you notice it? Again, just one step at a time. And if, go and put it in a binder and then just write. And so if a new page comes in and it needs to be inserted between these two pages, you can stick it in there.
Okay.
And just let whatever flow. Just let it flow. Like that's also a cleansing that will really help to release a lot of this stuck stuff. So you're releasing the stuck stuff, you're expressing it, and then ultimately you can turn it into something. But when you're focused, like I'd like to write a book, but if I really think about writing the book, there's a pressure like, oh geez, I don't know how to write a book. And then how do you write the chapters? And oh my God, then I don't do it. But if you really just sat down, and if I said I wanted to write about all the weird spiritual experiences I've had, because I've had people over the years go, well, tell me about stuff. I've had some weird stuff. And when I think about it, I'm like, oh, well, that would be interesting. I wonder if anybody else has experienced that. So I could just write all the stories down. Excuse me. And that's what I started to do on the computer, is like I just started putting like thoughts of stories at least, or titles. But that just start there. Just do it for you. Think of it as a release for you. And then it will move much faster. You'll be surprised how much is written down. It's for you. And it will help bring in more abundance because you're releasing that tension. And you're also expressing yourself. Because you do all this and you've had all these other, you shared all these different careers or experiences, and so that's a big important part, is that you express yourself that way too. Absolutely. And you have a desire for sharing. If you can help other women, girls, whatever you want to focus on, you want to pick who you're directing it to when you write the book. Not right now. Now you're just putting it out. you're letting it come out of you. And so you can have a look at it and then decide what you want to include and decide how you want to put it. But take the I'm writing a book off, because there is pressure with I'm writing a book. Because it has to be in a form. This way it doesn't have to be in a form.
When I started, I think it was just like writing about what happened, and it turned into like, this makes sense. This is like, could be a book, because it just was, anyway. So this is why I needed the clarity, because I knew something wasn't quite right with the other stuff. I want all those things, whatever, but I knew that wasn't.
You can have all these things and they'll come out of it, but you can also start having them now, let them in. Instead of thinking the money does it, you're just open to them coming in, however they show up. And that'd be cool. Then you take the pressure off it. Like, this has to show up. Money has so much stuff around it, so much pressure, power. It controls, it makes decisions. Money doesn't do any of that. I mean, money might actually sit there and go, we didn't ask for all this stuff. What are you doing? We're a piece of paper. No. It was like Schoolhouse Rock video. It's just like a little paper. All this power and pressure. Yeah. So somebody mentioned the 3 is a magic number, and I automatically heard Schoolhouse Rock playing in my head. Those things have never come out from those Saturday morning shows. I even bought them for my son because I'm like, you need to hear these. They like to stay in there.
I did too. They're awesome.
I'm just a bill. I can sometimes do the preamble to the Constitution. Although some of the words I'm not sure what they're saying, so I have to look them up. But anyway, so yeah, it feels like it really needs to be focused on you standing in your power of being able to do all this as you, instead of looking for something to take care of you.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you're all grown up, because there was stuff we talked about before. So I'm a big girl now. No, I'm sorry. That's like a pull-up. There's songs in my head lately. I'm sorry. Too many strange things coming out. Okay. Do you have any questions or anything else?
No, I like what you said, just like journal for me. And I've been putting this off for a while. So I think it's funny that you brought it up in the way I was like, damn it, that's what I have to do. Because you said it without really knowing full on.
Yeah, see, when it comes out like that, like other comments I've made about things, I just don't know I'm even saying them. So, okay, they must mean something if they're coming out.
Yeah, and like taking the class and knowing, like, using it for the full potential that I have.
Yeah, stand more in. So you take care of you. I mean, with the support of source, I see everything like source, soul, us. And so when we connect to those, everything moves easier. And then
Wait, can you say that again? Because you
source, yeah, you're wobbly. Source, soul, you. And go see it other way.
Okay.
I've even gotten over all the angels, guides, no offense all, but that's just vibrational stuff. That's just who we connect to. And as humans, we need like a name and something, because God, source, is just everything and everywhere. Our mind sometimes is like, what exactly? That's why we see it as an old man with a long beard sitting on a throne, because we need to see a visual. It's just consciousness, like everything. Oh, I don't understand. I need something to represent. So then there's angels and whatever. So I just, what's my soul saying? Is it working with what it wanted when it came here, and then go straight to the top? Forget all the middleman. But it does feel like if you do you just write it casually, but stand in your power of the experience you had that was powerful. And then you can share it out there at some point, but this is for you. And it allows you that creative juice to go, And then when that creative juice is flowing, things will just start flowing everywhere else. And it also takes your mind off what's not working. Oh my God.
Thank
There'll
you.
be a whole another healing without having to sit there going, I'm healing myself. That pressure of I healed it. Oh,
Thank you very
right. Okay. All righty. Oh, you already muted yourself. Okay, Sherry.
I still want the money.
That's fine. Just not as the focus.
Okay, so let me throw out a couple of things around that,
Mhm,
because I do get what you're saying,
mhm,
but this idea of freedom,
mhm,
yes, control is part of it for me. Around this idea of the how. So like I had let go of it having to be lottery winnings.
mhm,
But for example, I'm in a situation right now that, I orchestrated to make happen where I have money in my bank accounts and at my disposal and growing for me. I can sleep as long as I want in the morning or not. I can, put resources towards having a business or and working on, my spiritual stuff or my emotional traumas. And the things that I'm spending on, I've had this idea in my head for a few years now that um, I can spend and spend and spend, and my bank account keeps going up and up and up.
mhm,
And these things are happening for me.
mhm,
And even leaving the corporate job, um, which isn't the first time it's happened for me, but global situations have supported me monetarily to leave those situations so I can, focus on more of whatever that joy or peace or, freedom, whatever that is that I need. Um, and so some of my focus really the past few years has been around money along with finding my purpose. And so the idea of me having my own money, being one of the people in the, I don't know where I wrote it. I think I wrote it to you on one of the Facebook things, but instead of me being the person that puts on the events for the ultra wealthy,
mhm.
I want to be invited to the event because I'm part of the ultra wealthy.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm still hung up a little bit on that, without a doubt. And because the things I want to now be included in my life take more than the say 50,000 in savings or
Mhm.
whatever it is as I wrote out. That said, over the last couple of weeks I've definitely gotten clearer. I could have written the why document that I wrote. I could have written that 2 weeks ago. So each interaction and conversation is definitely helping me get clearer.
Well, what you shared, it feels like the big picture.
Yes.
So we want to, as with everything, pull one thing in and start there. And it does feel like your expression through your business, because as you get more clear on that and move in that direction, then the doors start to open.
Yeah.
So out of the three, you had 1, 2, and 3. The first thing I looked at was 3 is number 1. 3 will take you to all the other things. You will meet the person you want to meet through the things that you expand and do.
Because you'll be the person that matches that
when we want someone, we want them to be at a certain level. So we do have to come up to that. And I can see you doing I was, when you were, hold on. I actually went off of, I felt more in tune with what you shared in the session you scheduled.
And I wish I would have copied that. So if you have it somewhere, send it back to me.
Because you talk about, working with these bigger, so even with that, really getting clear on, are they CEOs? Are they entrepreneurs? I mean, do they run,
Right.
that's going to all be clear, but to get in tune with what you are offering in your business, and who, just like with Shannon, who the person is. The moment you start to get focused on that, if it's a business, they'll start showing up. The ways will open. And you'll end up being with all this group of people, because that's what you want. Years ago, I wanted to walk with the people who were on The Secret. I've met Neil Donald Walsh, Michael Beckwith, and Michael Beckwith came up and touched my shoulder at the event I was at. I was at a table with women, and I said, I want to give him my business card. It was when I first had it. I'm like, if I can give Michael Beckwith my business card, well, that's pretty, I'm pretty confident, and take a picture. And I'm sitting at this table, and these women I don't know them. They all started sitting at the table. They smiled, and I felt this hand on my shoulder. He came to me, and I told him the story, and he's like, oh, well, I'll take the card. I do see you as you'll be one of the innovators and things. And Michael Beckwith, Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote the Conversations with God. If you want, do you want to hear the little story?
No, I remember the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
How he came there, and so anyway, but all of those things, Marianne Williamson, I decided I wanted to walk, and I didn't do it because once I start walking with, like meeting them all, I'm like, well, they're really not that spectacular.
Yeah.
I really, you get a little awe, and then you're like in them, and you're like, well, and not so much anymore.
That's been my experience. Like, I worked at the New York Times, I worked at the Wall Street Journal. But when I got those jobs, I was like, is this it? This is like the pinnacle of 30 years of work for most people. And I did it fairly early. And then, so now I'm rubbing elbows with these movers and shakers, and I'm creating gifts for somebody to take to Davos, and, and I show up well in that world.
But it was in deep insecurities of really being able to be one of them.
Right. And I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have definitely worked life at plumbing those depths.
Yes, I can feel the difference. Like, you're more prepared to actually be with these people as a equal, not as a subordinate. Yeah,
that's exactly it. And I actually had an experience once at a luxury auto thing, and
one of those auto shows.
Yeah, it was an auto show, but it's like the ultimate auto show out in California in the Carmel area, and with an auction and like all this stuff, manifested my way into a private party, and then so now I'm hanging out with the people that go, oh, let's meet at my restaurant in Aspen, and let's meet over here to have this other amazing experience. And I was like, yes, I want that. Mm-hmm. And over the last 2 or 3 weeks, well, and even last year, my friend introduced me to this program, this coaching program that kind of brings together I've mentioned it before, the trauma-informed sort of working on your constrictions with the business coaching piece. and I had the cash just to plunk it down because it, it's what I'd been asking for. I wanted to bring it all together. I wanted to move forward. Um, in fact, there's a special weekend coming up, and like one of the things I realized I've been wanting to manifest is to get his coaching for free, which is like a 25,000 a day thing, and there's an opportunity to do it through this weekend thing. And so anyway, instead of again me paying the cash for it.
Mhm.
So I'm definitely, working on those things, but I'm rambling a little. The nugget I had wanted to bring that around to was through that and this conversation of, who's your target person, and again, I have a master's degree in advertising and communication. Like, I know how to do these things. No, up here.
Mhm.
Um, but somebody had planted the seed for me about, well, maybe your target, the way you want to show up in your business isn't to have these individual sessions or these
Mhm.
pack on coaching calls. If you only want to have 3 clients a week or 3 clients a month, why not make it 3 clients a year and they all pay you $100,000?
That's what I was thinking when I was reading I started to think have 5 clients at $500,000 at $100,000 a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So
Not
that was
3,
just
go with
a few
5,
weeks ago.
maybe 6, but not 3. You can do more than 3.
Maybe 6, but yeah, but so like speaking of
They're
downloads,
business
there's a
people. They're very affluent. Yes.
very fluent,
Yeah.
but they can move in the business world because I have sort of that. I like that logic analytical piece.
Oh, and by the way, if you're getting paid $100,000 a year from each one of them, you can rent a private jet to take them to like an island for a retreat. Yeah.
And then write it off as a business expense.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know actual people who only rent them because it's too much of a hassle to actually own one. People, when people think of things, I want a boat. Do you know what goes with having a boat? People don't always think about you'd have to actually maintain these things. And so, you could rent a private jet for a trip.
Money. Here's the thing. I used to work with as clients. I've had as clients the people that own the jet companies, the people that own the yacht companies.
Mhm.
I've gone to conferences where the uber rich are coming to visit those things, so it's like I've had these experiences in my life that have shown me how to live in that world so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like in talking about Brandy's book, I know that feeling of, oh my God, if I had this, then there'd be too much. But functionally, I know what I would do. Like, I have the steps I would do if those millions started coming in, or the money starts coming in. I have those resources. I know who I'd go to,
Mhm.
but I also know what I don't like to do. Even being an office manager the last 6 years, I'm like, oh, I've been learning how to manage properties and business properties. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm going through this. I'm learning the skills before I know really what the purpose, how I'm going to put it to use. So
when you actually
I
start
think that's
moving
all.
in that, you don't need to have like hundreds of million settings somewhere because it will all just start flowing to you so easily. And the lifestyle will you'll actually be gifted a lot of it. You'll be invited to do things that people are paying for free. It's like all the wealthy, like all the stars, they get those free gift bags with all this stuff and they can easily go pay for all of it, right? And then you got all the people who are scraping together their money to pay for the things that they're handy. You know what I mean? So really, that flow can be there. What's restricted you is just the fear of actually stepping up. We actually get, I used to work at a very elite golf club in Naples, Florida. it was like one within only had 11 homes. It, you know, everybody had their condos on the beach. They were the fifth wealthiest man in the world was one of the members. And then I had my first business was cleaning $1 million homes.
Yeah.
And then years later, I heard all the wealthy, you know, speakers and like Bob Proctor's and stuff were like, well, you put yourself in there, you had it all around you, but you weren't allowing it in for you. You lived the life of being, I mean, I know what it's like to be around extremely wealthy people. Most of my people I associate with have never been around the wealthy people I've been around. And, you know, I love that I lived in Naples, Florida and got to know that kind of a lifestyle and see it. So it would be really easy for you. You get clear on your business part and the rest will come. Actually, it'll come rushing in. It might not be $100 million handed, but it'll be a life that it's the life of you having hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. With
ease because you've already touched it. So you've already been in the vibration of it.
Yeah. 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 And it feels, again, not only, you know, I'm hearing about all the planetary energy and all this, like I can feel it all speeding up. And especially once my friend had planted that seed about, well, if you only want to work with 3 people, then make that your goal.
Yeah.
And it had never occurred to me before that moment that really could be my business and my life. And part of it is, again, this guy I'm working with, or his program, he talks about this too for himself. He's like, there's a certain way I want to experience my life. And so, you know, I'm setting up my packages and my team around me to let me live that life.
Yes.
So yes, I have noticed as I'm trying to get clear on what this business is, I'm feeling curiosity again. For the first time in a long time, I'm feeling kind of joy and excitement. I never liked that feeling of being at the top of the roller coaster. I hated feeling out of control. Like my stomach was going to drop out or the bottom would drop out of everything. And for the first time ever, I felt that feeling at that top as excitement instead of dread and anxiety and fear. So I do hear what you're saying. I'm going to sit with this idea of needing the control of having the money versus only having the experience that it can also give me. I think there's something still stuck there for me.
Well, you got a private session. We can play with that too.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the point.
Okay.
But so, all right. So I've said something about you having $100,000 client.
Yeah.
But I have been in events and stuff where that's what the person was promoting, and I just don't tune into that. I'm like, okay. But yeah, they're like, hey, if you have 5 people at $100,000 a piece, I mean, you've already lived a life where you can see all of that. Yeah. And so how about begin with focusing on what that one person would be. Get clear on one person that would pay you $100,000 and be a client. What would you do? How would you work with them? Who would it be? Would it be male or female? Again, you know, what kind of company do they run? Are they an entrepreneur? They're just small people, or is it a bigger company that they're a CEO of? Okay. Tune into that person that is paying you the $100,000 a year. Start with the first one. And then the way you're working with them, the things that you'll do, if you have retreats, and you know, I've had mentors or been in contact with, they're like, I take my clients who pay me $100,000, we go and spend a weekend or a week on an island. Now they they actually pay to get themselves to the island, but maybe you don't. You have, pay for some of the like meals or something, but they still pay to go. You don't supply them with the trip.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's you, but you give them higher perks type things because they're investing $100,000. So what result are you providing them for that 100? That's basically it. I've been taught it doesn't matter if you give that person that result in 5 minutes or a year. If you can give it to them in 5 minutes and they pay you $100,000, they paid you for the result, not for the time. That's where people get
Right.
confused. You're not paying for time, they're paying for experience and result. So think, just start playing with what would that look like to have your $100,000. So now you're tuning into it.
Yeah. I can feel the difference. And that feels
Now I
good.
can't see it around anybody else, but I see your aura just expanded. I don't see color, but I see light. And it just like stood out all of a sudden when you said, I can see you.
Well, I feel it inside. I feel it expanding down, especially into my like solar plexus
Yeah,
and sacral chakras. It's like
get up.
it's a universe opens inside.
Yeah. So start designing that one person. And how would you work with them? And just start there. Not design a whole bit, just design one thing for one person.
Well, I even like that you're saying, wait, let me write it down.
Well, it's going to be on the recording.
I know, but
Okay.
I hate, although I do, sometimes I'll mark the time so I can go right.
You're at about, yeah, this conversation part is at 8:30.
Yeah.
An
No,
hour
I
and a half in. Okay.
I love the phrase that you said for some reason. It's tickling me. Start designing that one person. Just the idea of designing them is such a creative word and has so many layers to it.
I'm going to use an old example. I used to love to watch The Twilight Zone. There's an episode called I Sing the Body Electric. It's one of my favorite episodes. It's where the Larry Tate from Bewitched, because they recycled a lot of like William Shatner. Larry Tate has 3 kids, and Penny from Lost in Space is the belligerent little girl, all pissed off because mom died. And he has all these nannies that end up leaving because she's just a terror. And he sees this ad on the paper, and they go and you build a grandmother. So they get to put their voice in a box, and they pull this thing like, the mailbox thing, and they drop her voice in, they drop her eyes in, they drop her,
Yeah.
hair in, and then they close it, and she comes over and she's a robot. But she raised them. And then she goes back and her consciousness goes off into a room and talks to all the other grandmothers and all of them. They share stories. And that was one of my favorite episodes. So go and design
Design my $100,000 client.
Yep. And start with the one.
It only takes one, and I know that too. And it's word of mouth, and yeah. So,
Yeah, and I do feel like I wrote it'll be very elite. You'll have a waiting list.
yes.
But start with the one, design the one, just bring things down to the one,
Yeah.
the one, because the one is what you can align with.
Well, I'm really excited just because I couldn't imagine, obviously, if I could, I would have already had it, how we were going to take everything I wrote and try to get to a single thing. So, yeah. So I'm so intrigued that we got somewhere. And
Well, that is my goal for supporting yours.
no, and it's not that I doubted.
Exactly how it's going to happen, by the way, either. I just always go, you know what?
Yeah.
You got to help me.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it's also why I figured I was going to be the last one to be talked to. Because
Well, actually, the last one is Tammy. This was the order I did, and she's on here. So I will just briefly go over what I have for her so she can listen to the audio. That's easier than trying to retype or type it up for her.
Yeah.
But let's just say she contacted me. She's having a little resistance to showing up on here. Internal resistance that isn't conscious, but because I've worked with her for a while, so she is having a physical reaction to whatever her nervousness is. So do you have any other questions? Are you all good?
I feel complete.
Oh, good. You keep breaking up too. It's hilarious. And Randy, you're not
No,
breaking up
I've
at all
been,
now that you're
clear-
not talking.
been-
What was
Really?
that?
I'm breaking up the whole time on my thing.
Yeah, but while you're just sitting there and you're not talking, you're fine. But it's like while you're talking, and Sherry, you're fine until you talk.
Oh, you know, my energy's all over the place, and when I get really excitable about certain things, and it has always affected technology. So I've been clearing myself, which is part of my business, as I go, so that I can have a better. Because I wanted to hear you during my conversation and not have to go back.
Am
but
I okay? I don't look like I'm breaking up to myself.
You've been breaking up for me at different times throughout the whole thing, and at one point, all three of you were frozen.
It's just all the energy. You just can't. It's like when I do those blasts or anything live and people are going, you're breaking up. There is nothing I can do.
No, it's usually they're breaking up and you're fine. So I just try to take care of my own energy, but I knew it was going to be a challenge today.
Well, it's all.
Ed,
We
the
get
question is,
everything gets.
yeah, what we need. I'll listen again. Okay, breathe. So we can now go and schedule our sessions.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because now that we've come down to more of a one thing. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
And in my mind, I knew what the plan was, but I guess it was not coming out fully. Sometimes I don't feel like I speak like the language. Makes sense to me up in here, but yeah, I didn't want to. I after you scheduled, I was like, wait a minute. I think they think I mean just schedule it after that. No, wait. Don't press the button until we have this call. Then schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're good. So that'll be 3 weeks. And if you have that extra one, you just decide where you want to stick it in. But yeah. So now you can. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's all good. Then with that, they're based in the healing work. And then we had Wednesday, the enough work. And then tomorrow, I'll take down the vibration alignment blast, and then we'll do a new one because now we have more defined. Yes? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to, so Tammy can watch this. Give her an idea of all my paperwork here. Okay. So Tammy's talking about her dream house now. As I mentioned, I've been working with Tammy about 3 years actually. And we created the thing she wanted it. And now she's moving on to her house. So Tammy, as you listen to this, details are great. Specificity. Now when it comes to being clear and specific, there are parts that we do want to bring in, and there are other parts we want to leave a little more hazy. The hazy parts are like the actual, like an address or a person. So if you're not married, which she's not, or you're not, I'll just talk to you like I'm talking to you. I would not include his name or the line that was, this is the first really big commitment that I am sharing with Tony. Just refer to, I'm with my man, because the thing is that as much as we will believe it's the person, we want the quickest, easiest way to something. And so leaving the availability that something may be different to be there. if you're married, even then, I mean, it could be that the marriage ends and someone else I mean, that's always possible, but leave that, just talk about it from me and my man are doing this, me and my man are doing that. You know, I love whatever in that way. And then also you included the exact location, Romeo Plank in Macomb. I would leave that out so that the perfect house will show up. It was like, it was Miracle on 34th Street. The little girl found the little picture of that house, and then they were driving by at the end. They go in, and the cane, was his name Chris? It's usually Chris. I think it was Chris. And then she found the cane. She's like, this is the house, but they just drove by. Well, at that time, they didn't have like Google searches or anything like that, but they literally just were driving by, and she's like, that's the house. So you want to leave those kinds of exact details out so that the house can show up wherever the house is. The house is already somewhere, but it may not be at that exact location. However, you want to be, you said 20 to 35 minutes from your parents. I just round it, it's like just say about 30 minutes from your parents. That gives you kind of a radius in which you're inviting that in. So that would be clarifying a little better, leaving an opening. Like you share your home with your man, you know, that kind of a thing. But again, I wouldn't put his name because there hasn't been that level of commitment, unless I don't know, since last time we talked, something changed, but that level of commitment, you're bringing too much of him in, and there could be a shift that you don't know about yet. Other than that, like with the whys too, for everybody, Shannon, you did it a little more. It's like, it would be, talk about your why as if I called you up after a weekend and said, what'd you do this weekend? You're like, oh, I was in my house. And, you know, talk from that place of just having the conversation of this life you're living that feels really good. Oh, I'm doing this, you know, I'm hanging out with these people. Oh, this weekend, I got on a jet and I went to, you know, Fiji or wherever, and it was a great time. I was hanging out with Nate. You can name the people you want to be in the circle of. I was hanging out with Tony Robbins on his private island in Fiji, or Necker Island with Sir, you know what I'm talking about, Richard Branson. You know, I was on Necker Island this weekend. I don't like that name. It sounds kind of like I'm saying something incorrectly. It sounds like saying something else, but you know what I mean. But to say it that way, go ahead and talk about the people you're hanging out with. Just like, you know, like it already happened. Even talk from a place, not that always that it's happening, but it's already happened. So you're on the other side of the experience. Because there's a few spots in here where it's this home, and then you sometimes say my home. So really just keep saying my home, my next door neighbors. You know, my living room is like so comfy and cozy with my leather sofa, and you know, we kick back and watch the 60-inch TV or what. I mean, like really play like. One other thing I was feeling for Tammy is that I want you to imagine it, like, and maybe draw a picture instead of writing it out. And it doesn't have to be a pretty picture. It can just be a stick people picture, but stand in front of your house. What does the porch look like? Is it, you say 2 levels. Does that mean basement and main floor? Does it mean an upstairs? I don't know. Pretend I'm source. I'm confused. What exactly is that? 2 stories or 2 levels. Don't know what that means exactly. So get a little clear on. It's, you know, got 3 bedrooms upstairs, or the master suite is upstairs and it's got 2 bedrooms on the main floor. Talk from that place. And then I did it once. My house that I live in is nowhere near what that other house was, but it was always based on all the houses I cleaned. The house I thought I wanted. My house loves me. It's like a pet, kind of. It just loves me. Anyway, I'd rather have my house love me. But, you know, do you want to walk out basement to this creek that's in the backyard? Do you want to have, where's your exercise room that you have? Is on the main floor. I mean, draw, like, pretend you're an architect or no, what, who am I thinking of? Is that who draws the plans of the house? Okay, so like an architect, and here's the rooms and, open floor plan. Does that mean the living room, kitchen, or family room, kitchen are open? Just be more specific on what does this look like? Draw it. Again, doesn't have to be real pretty, but you get the idea. And then what does the backyard look like? Is there any type of bushes for privacy? Is there a fence? Is there anything like that? But stand in front of the house, walk into the house, just draw it, and then describe it like you're living there, like you're walking through. And that helps bring in more clarity. So that's what I've got on your house. I think that's it. Then, like I said, I'll put in a couple of weeks, I'll put a post that says, how are you doing on clarity or whatever. I like those GIFs or GIFs or whatever they're called that do crazy things, like the little boy for the today is it, and he was running through the house. But tag me so that I can find it. And then I'll copy and paste, copy it and, tune into it, play with it, let you know if there's any more things how it feels on alignment, bringing it in. Is that all good? Okay. All right, it was reading. You can even buy seats on a private plane per ride. Yeah. Or I was even thinking, if you fly first class, you're going to be sitting with higher, with more of the business people anyway, and it's making connections. You might find another client there or somebody who refers you someplace else. So just being on, like, having a private jet where you're the only one on it, hey, sit some time. I'm not saying back squished in 3 seats sitting there with the guy sleeping on your shoulder kind of thing. That's not helping. but and before you
Actually,
have,
the last 2 times I flew first class.
there you go. See?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
already trying to live those experiences and not have that fear of lack that I can't afford them, or that I never felt like I didn't belong in them. It usually was a fear of the whole lack of money thing, or wanting to hold on to the money I had.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And yeah, so I've definitely been opening up those channels. And specifically, the last time I flew, well, 2 times ago, I was gifted the first class seat.
Mhm.
And then the last time I purchased it, although that was a horrible experience, um, I'll be a little more careful on what kind of aircraft it is next time. But yeah, I've been opening up to those kinds of ideas of living that life without needing the money to live it.
Well,
but I still want the money.
well, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But maybe it won't come as a lump sum. But when you look back over your life, you see that it was, or even if you gave value to the actual things, what kind of monetary value would that experience have? What did it involve? If you get to stay in a hotel, fly on a plane, well, how much would that really all add up to? And you start adding up the value in the things that you're doing. You give them monetary, you didn't pay it, but it still has that value. It's like I talk about, I'm a deal person, and I have weird sense in my mind, I guess. Like, I like to buy this particular milk I make my kefir with. It's called Fairlife. It's filtered. It's normally $5 for this little half a gallon. So what I do, or I don't even think it's half, it's 52 ounces. I wait every so often. It goes on sale for $2.99, $2.99. And then sometimes I have coupons. And I view that as, like, if somebody handed me the difference, what's the difference between that? Now, I've had mentors go, well, using coupons is a lack thing. What's the difference between that and somebody handing me $2?
Actually, it's from the research, it shows that the more money you have, the more likely you are to use coupons, because the rich people know.
You value the money too. You value what you have. And I take really, and I also see that what we have and how we treat it, I see everything as an extension of how I view myself. So when I see somebody driving a new car that's bashed all up, I'm like, we need to talk value here of self. I have a almost 18-year-old car, Toyota Matrix. I love it. I can't even imagine. I can imagine maybe having another car, but not getting rid of her. I just bought her a battery a few days ago, and a neighbor had to help me get in. I didn't have the right socket to get the nut off, but it wasn't because the battery died. It was 6 years old. It was probably getting close, but I just felt she needs a new battery. I mean, she wants a new battery. So I gifted her with a new battery. She's such a good car, but she looks really good. And she's an extension. I take care of her, I mean, she goes out in the world and other people aren't real, I park a mile away, all that kind of stuff, but because I love it. And not because it's a thing, it actually feels like an extension of, it represents how I care for myself and value my life.
Yeah.
And so
There's a book and a class that I did probably 15 years ago called The Intersection of Joy and Money. And one of the big things that really I learned in that was this idea of, I think we tried to write about it back and forth on Facebook, but of each thing that you're given, whether it's cash or not, mark it down so that you can see as you open up to your joy, the money is coming in, but it helps to track it like you would track a budget. But it's tracking it so you can see how much money you made that month or that week. Every single thing, even if you use the copier at your work, if you were unemployed, you'd have to pay Kinko's to copy something. So understanding that flow is really important. So I love that.
More of the abundance in what you actually, because people just don't pay attention to the stuff around them. They take things for granted. I always laugh when the power went out. I am gonna contact DT is ridiculous. It's like, do you like to flip that switch on? How do you feel when you pay your bill every month? Well,
yeah,
you don't like when it goes out. The moment that my switch does not go on, I'm like, I love paying my electric bill. When I pay it, I'm happy to pay it. Sometimes I think, wow, did I use that much? But it's like because I like the heat to run. I like the lights on. This is my business. It's not good when it goes out. So I have no problem paying for that. But people will, I don't. You like the service, but you don't want to, people's sense of, but we aren't really taught to value things.
Right.
You really are not taught to do that. And that's what messes with our connection to the flow. But really the whole switch money out for love. I have more than enough love and the flow of that, and then see it. You can see the different ways that love shows up for you. It can show up in dollars. It can show up in kindness. It can show up in, that's really what's coming to us and through us, is that vibration of love. And then it takes away I'll say the ugly of money, the stuff that people have put on it that it isn't, the decision making, all that stuff that money's just like, whoa. I always think that about Jesus too. Hey, I didn't need y'all to act this way about this is a little far gone here, people. That was not, well, even Buddha, that they say that, no, I'm not the way through it. You just, this is how you live. And, but then everybody wants to put it on a thing, on something outside of them. Then they give it responsibility and power. And if it doesn't work out, it's its fault. And it takes away the power, our personal power. So we want to take it back. But I can definitely see it easily flowing through there. So just let it flow. Let it flow. No, that's not a song, is it? No, that's Let It Snow. Let it snow. Well, we can turn it, let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. That has nothing to do with the weather outside, though. We're gonna have to change the words. I'm sure somebody's got a song to it. YouTube somewhere. All right. Any other thoughts, questions? You can unmute yourselves. No. Okay. All good? You feel like you have your one thing? One thing to go forth? You okay with it? Okay. All right. Then, yeah. And
I still want the money too, Tammy.
that's fine. It's not as the primary, I have to have that to have this. Or for it to be what takes care of you. That was the theme I just saw. And so we want to switch out of that feeling because that's kind of disempowering, you know. Because what happens if money disappeared? Oh no,
Right.
who would take care of you? Oh shit. So if that was to disappear in that form, then what would replace it? So just put that in there now. The more powerful source, soul, you. I mean, that trumps everything else. There's nothing that, the creator that makes all of this. That account is much bigger than anything that doggone
Yep.
that a dollar amount will ever get to. And there's a release, and really lately I've just been like, okay, so if we focus on the one thing and we create the one thing, and we've utilized that connection, that ability. So we really have more than, I mean, everybody has access to this. So I'm not saying we have more than anyone else, but the sense that we know we do, and we're tuning into that and utilizing it. Something that we actually can control, because nothing's withheld from that. We're buying a ticket, waiting to see if we're one out of how many millions, that probability, when that is always there. We are one out of one, I guess. They're just, you know what I mean? There's no bigger number. Like, we can't have that. That is ours, period. We don't have to hope that somebody gives it to us, or
It's already there.
it's always there, and we
already there.
we don't utilize it. Like
Right.
having a big fat account of a bunch of stuff, and then like, no, I'm never going to access that account. Let me struggle to get one of these. Yeah, they say Mother Teresa was extremely wealthy, and she didn't technically have a job. She didn't get paid from anybody, but she traveled the world and was taken care of where she went.
Yep.
She flew private, I think, too, right? That's what they say.
Private jet. She wrote she was taken everywhere. And she didn't have to, it was all given to her because she was in that frequency. That was it. That was just how
If you build it, it will come.
I know people, even business wise, and I work with spiritual business mentors, and it's still sometimes it's like I get the message. It's not ever the words, it's the frequency, period. People are going to resonate with the because how many people will go, I don't know why I want the thing, but I just know I do. I don't even understand what it is, but I want it because it just feels right. So if you're on the frequency and talking to the one person, because it's an easier frequency to be on, one, then people are just going to show up.
Yeah.
And we just turn it on and let all this wonderful stuff flow through. It's kind of shutting. I actually just always see, like, when that wall, I know we did the wall and the being enough, but I see a different, like a personal wall, like a little one that comes up, and I can feel it when I'm going into human stuff, going, there could be a lack. And I go, wait a minute. And I put that wall down and I just open up and go, okay, it's just going to move. I don't have hundreds of millions. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I have everything I want. I literally do. And if I want it, it shows up.
Mhm.
And it just does. And I realize that so much more. So, okay, now consciously, we just keep doing it.
Yeah.
It almost becomes like you can't shut it off once you open it. It's just, okay, there it is. So let's open it up and tap into literally like just an abundance of stuff. Like we're focused on, I want, it's right here. No, but I want, no. It's just not, we don't see, our brain doesn't see, but we don't see hundreds of millions of dollars either. But we think
Mhm.
that's the space. And you can have that, but don't have it be the primary focus, because it's
Mhm.
still going to come through how you're expressing yourself and what you're doing. I know people go, well, just be, don't do. We're physical. There's always a do.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's do, but there's do, there's do. It's how it's translated. Because if we're just going to be, there are the beings who are just being, like say the Dalai Lama, or that is the frequency they're here to hold. That's it. That's what they came here to do. But most of us came here to express stuff. So there's an action for every, your being is the vibration you're on, and then you're going to have actions off of that.
Mm.
But we live in a physical world. Yes, we want to have money. We want to have worldly things. We live in a physical world. It used to be a long time ago, spiritual people don't want physical things. Well, spiritually, I don't want to live in a tent.
Mm-mm.
Don't have any interest in living in a tent. I won't feel very spiritual.
Nope. I like indoor plumbing.
Yeah, bugs, just all sorts of stuff. It's just not
Right.
going to work for me. So it's okay. That's
Mhm.
finding that peace. There's nothing wrong with wanting any of that. It's just when we focus on it, that's a lack energy, because we forget what we are capable of doing.
Yeah.
So you get to play, and I'm sitting there with that. And again, the universe will go, play with it as long as you want there. And when you're done, we'll give you all the other stuff, but go ahead, play with it.
I'll wait.
I'll wait. Got forever. To be doing really. So. I'm gonna get done. That's all. We're trying to shorten that curve, shorten the gap there. Yep. And if you're really tight on it, I do believe it can just like literally come out of the air.
Experience. I do too.
It's happened before. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But we have to just let that it be such a flow that there's no constriction or restriction for it. And then it just comes out. So I'm not quite to that spot. We can walk on water too.
Yeah.
If we really truly deeply down inside believe it. I think most of us have just been programmed, and I haven't unprogrammed walking on water. So I'm going to guess that if I attempt that, it's not going to go really well. But we can. But we can.
Mhm.
Can I ask you a question, Tammy?
Sure.
You just said, okay. So how do I put this? So if like a situation comes up, I know it's all the way you look at it. So if I look at something, there's something happened in business, there's a potential client, and it came in a weird way that could have been a scam. And I said, well, let's look at, like, it should come this easy. It should be this easy. It shouldn't be hard. So let's look at it like it is. And the things started happening, and we were like a little curious as like, is it real? Because we didn't know this person. We always get our people through other people, like just whoever. We just always know one person. It's always like word of mouth. And well, they do this, we'll continue. And if they do this, then we'll keep going. We do this, we'll keep going. So we did that. And I don't care what other people say. Like if they all said that's wrong, I still don't care. And we were like, no, we're going to still go. And then I guess it got to a point where they asked us to do something kind of weird that we wouldn't normally do. And still said, okay, if they do this, so they did the things we were thinking. And then it got to a point where they were sending us this check, this money, and they sent like an off amount. It wasn't like the right amount we've been discussing. So the point is that, like, if I kept thinking that everything was, if I kept looking at it like this is okay, or this is feels good, or whatever, could it, and it's not a scam. I think in the end it was a scam. And thankfully we used I couldn't decide between intuition and fear or resistance. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I kept looking at like, this is happening the way it was, could it have happened? Or could it have been a lesson? And I kept saying, I don't need any more business lessons. I'm done with the lessons.
Well,
And then something came that made me say, okay.
we create what we want to see. We'll see whatever we want to see. So you were offering if it's this, but we're not sure. We're going to check to see if it's not this. So you had both playing at the same
Yeah,
time.
I did. Yeah.
And so you were getting that it is, but you kept still questioning, is it? Is it? So it was showing you both.
Because I said, I was like, we could use this like as the way to surrender to it. And then I said, well, when I got to the scary part, because like we could have been $50,000. So I said, if this is what I need to do, and you're trust, like I don't want to find that out and be wrong.
Yeah.
So
Well, it would be like, I've thought about, so say we asked for $100,000 and $100,000 is dropped into our bank account. No real understanding of where the 100,000. Most people, even though they wanted the 100,000, would start going, wait, where did it come from? Is this legal? If I start spending this, are they going to take it back out of the account? Then what would happen?
go away.
That's going to happen.
Right.
It would just be, even for me. I mean, but I've said, okay, if you drop it in there, then I'm just going to believe you dropped it in there. But our brain needs to understand at least how it can't comprehend it. Then it goes into fear. Like, oh shit, and if I go spend 100,000, then they go, it is an error, ma'am. Oh shit, now I gotta pay back $100,000. So then I wouldn't spend $100,000 thinking, well, how long should I give it? I mean, how long do they have a right to take it? I don't want to call the bank up and say, hey, I'm not sure we're 100,000. How long can I leave it in there before you take it back? That would be a red flag. So, you know what I mean? We go into that like, we say we want this thing, but then when it shows up, it scares us. And then we go, is it really? So then all that stuff comes up. And so then we basically push it away.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you were riding the two. Is it? Is it not? If it does this, we can get it.
And it did all of that.
And we can get it. But then at one point you were like, maybe not. But you had it, you wanted it to prove it to you so that you knew that it wasn't the other. So
Right.
you still invited in the other. As
Yeah,
a
I think I
question.
manifested the way out because
Again, it's think of it like a recipe. You don't put anything in a cake you don't want in the cake. We never, or just a cake, but any recipe, you don't look and go, I would not want cat hair in my cake. So I'm just not going to put it in there. But we'll go and we'll do a recipe for an experience and we'll go, well, I don't want this as part of it. Well, now you just put it in there. Because it's all energy. So
that's
you
true.
invited it in.
but you know what I said after it all went down, because that a long time. I was like, were we stupid? Could we have just had 80 grand in our account? Or we'd been screwed out of 50?
Do it again. But
Well, I said,
don't do the fear part.
I said, I want some of that. I don't want the other part of it. I want to know that jobs can come in easily and effortlessly out of all different avenues, and money can come in my hands very quickly. I'll take that, but I
don't do the butt there. The energy sticks with whatever's after your butt. Seriously, everybody will tell you that. So make sure adjust what's after your butt. The joke, don't let your butt get in the way.
Isn't it also that, sometimes these experiences are because part of our journey is we want to know the difference. So like that experience for you, Randy, would be an example of, I want to be able to, trust my intuition and know all this in. It wasn't about getting a client easily and effortlessly. That's not what that experience was.
You're absolutely right.
And after a while, um, you start to feel that, or you know, you recognize the energy for what it is or what it isn't, and then you can trust that and just go with it. So
You're absolutely right, because that's the thing I grapple with all the spiritual stuff. Like, usually I can trust my intuition, and that's what was bothering me the whole time. Was like, can I trust it? Is it fear? And in the end, I realized that that's what the lesson was about. Was like just going with what some didn't feel good. Some of it.
But what it also showed you was that you did say, if this happens, and it did.
Right. I know.
Kind of guided it anyway.
Yeah.
So you can do that. Okay, so next time we're just going to focus on this, not include that.
Right.
So the next one that comes in will be clear on it is a client, they are doing this, and it all goes well. Okay.
Right.
And it's kind of a fun game to go, okay, this is next. Now this is going to show up. And this is going to show up. This is going to show up. I think that part's kind of fun to go.
It was kind of fun.
Oh
Like,
my
This is
gosh.
going to show up now. And then you see it. It's like, oh, cool. So it's a way just to see, okay, don't include what you don't want included. Mhm. So you wanted to prove to yourself how that would work. Because
right to that.
again, everything is available to us all the time.
Mhm.
There's no tests. Nobody's testing us except for maybe ourselves. But nothing out there's it's a test to see if you no, it's just and how in are you? That's part of it too. How in are you really? Because we'll say we're in, but our actions don't say we're in. And then we go, well, that didn't show up. Yeah, because you weren't fully in. There are stories. I Bible stuff I get from like other people telling the story, and then I Google it and get more. So there's Abraham. There's a story where God tells Abraham he has to blood sacrifice or whatever, his son. And so he puts him on the altar, ready to, because trusted God enough to say, if that's what you want me to do, I'm willing to go that far because I have faith and trust. But then I was reading it, a Bible verse, and they're like, yes, because he feared God. No, that wasn't the point. The point is how far are you really willing to go in that faith of, the universe, source, God it's going to show up for you.
Mhm.
Because most people don't have what they want because they pull back out of fear. That story of the guy, I always think of it, hanging from falls off a cliff by a rope. It's dark out. Says to God, I'm afraid to fall. Save me. God says, cut the rope. Well, I can't see. I don't know how far away I am from the ground. Cut the rope. But and it never plays into the story. In our stories, even when I get messages, it's never about, it's matter of fact. It's not, oh, wait, we understand you're going through this. And no, it's just, that's all just human fluff. And so doesn't cut the rope, freezes to death, and there's like a foot off the ground. Well, it must have been farther. He obviously didn't put his arm out, but had he cut the rope, he would have maybe hit his head a little, hopefully not concussion. Somebody really thought this story through. You fall on your head, you knock yourself out and still die. But, it's like the guy in the, I could go all the ones with the flood, and the boat comes and the plane, car comes, the boat comes, the plane comes, and then he dies and goes to heaven and said, you didn't help me. I sent y'all car, a boat, and a plane. What you want? Sometimes we imagine it to be such, like, God will just stand there and say, oh, here I am. Come with me. No, here's all the ways. You have to make a choice of doing it or not doing it. So that's all. And it does take time to really be. It's taken me probably the last couple of years of really going, okay, I'm just gonna let go. And magic has happened more than anything else. So it takes just
Okay.
Practice doing it. Little steps. Again, like the one thing, just little steps. It has all the time and forever. You can take the littlest steps you want. It's not going anywhere. All right. All good? All right. Go forth and with your one thing.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh, did you save the? There was nothing really exciting over there.
No.
Okay. You don't need to save it unless you want to. But you have to save it before I hit the end button, because once I hit the end, it's gone.
There's really
Okay.
nothing in there.
Now it's a little bit, mostly you, Randy, were talking, so you want to save your comments, but
No,
okay.
I can't even do it on my computer, but
You can't? Well, isn't there a little, right where they type the message, the 3 dots?
no, I don't have
It's
that.
there.
for some reason. Oh, there it is.
Next
At the
Yeah, so
bottom.
you
Yep,
hit the
you're right.
dots and then it
I
says
see it.
save chat, you hit the save chat and it
I see it.
saves the chat, and then you'll have a window folder open after we close. Okay, go.
Okay.
All right.
I gotta go.
Okay, yes, I gotta go too. Okay.
Bye.